Hi there, this is Trevor. Welcome to Double the Movies. Today I'm going to break the rules. This is a triple bill. So, basically, not necessarily an original and a remake, but three very similar films. Now, kind of in reverse order because of age. I'm going to start with Midnight Meat Train. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this film, it stars Bradley Cooper and a certain former English football player, Vinnie Jones. And I watched the both cuts on here. I think it's just the one cut actually. So of course I watched the extended version. And I really like this film. So basically, Bradley Cooper is a photographer. And he's trying to capture the really gritty side of New York where he lives. Tries to submit his work to an art dealer, and she basically tells him, look, you're not quite doing enough. Keep on shooting. When you think, oh, perhaps I shouldn't take any more pictures, carry on taking them. Anyway, he ends up following Vinnie Jones's character and kind of working out, what does this guy do? Because he dresses nicely in a suit, but he works in a butcher, not a shop, but a factory where they do butchery. And but the first thing he does that I really like to see occasionally in films is the first time you see Bradley's character is he comes onto screen and he looks straight at the camera, breaking the fourth wall. But then you realise he's not looking at us because he brings up his camera and he takes a picture. So, you know, it's just a nice way of introducing the character. And so he gets deeper and deeper into this, and his girlfriend ends up getting involved in the sort of the situation. They're trying to find out where one of their friends has disappeared to. You know, they were on the subway and suddenly they got attacked. So it's a pretty bloodthirsty film, let's put it this way. And I really like the concept. I like that Vinnie's character is called Mahogany, by the way. Does what he does, and I kind of like why he does what he does. And yeah, let's just say Bradley's character gets a little more involved than with just the photography. But it doesn't really spoil it, you know. Very good movie. Give it a watch. It sounds great too. Yeah, 7.1 DTS HD Master. So I think it really gives the system quite a workout in places. And the fact that they're in the American subway, there's some pretty good ambience and that kind of thing if you're into sound in your movies. And so another film that's very similar, and this is a British horror film, and this was from a first-time director. I won't find his name now, will I? Anyway, it's first-time director, and it's the film Creep. Now, as you can see, that is a London Underground train, and it starts off that the leading lady of the film is at a party, and you know, the party ends and they're going their own separate ways, and so she gets on the underground to go home. Because she's had a bit to drink and whatnot, she ends up falling asleep on the platform, missing the last train, and then the whole sort of film kicks off. She comes across some rough sleepers who have found a nice sort of hidey hole in the station, and you know, they start telling them about all sorts of weird things going on. But it kind of starts with another British actor called Vaz Blackwood. You may have seen him in, I think it's, is he in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch? And he's kind of, I think, on probation, bit of a petty criminal, and he's out learning how to clean the sewers. And there's all sorts of in-jokes and things from the guy who's guiding him around, and but then suddenly, you know, they get attacked and he disappears. So then it goes to the leading lady part of the film. Let's see. Oh yes, Franca Potente is who plays Kate. That's the lead lady character, and yeah, as I said, Vaz Blackwood, who plays George, and then the guy who plays the creep, or as he has a name tag on from his past, called Craig. That is played by Sean Harris. Now, Sean Harris, the way he got into the spirit of this character of Creep, it's just brilliant. It's literally like he's a creature, and I really like the way he appeared on screen. Obviously, lots of makeup, and as the film progresses and things get worse and worse and worse for Kate, she comes across George, and they manage to sort of get out of where they're being held, and they try to escape and everything, and they suddenly come across this room, and then suddenly the creep starts to make a lot more sense because they see what's in the room. Now, yeah, it's pretty creepy and quite unpleasant to look at, but for me, and the kind of things I like, especially the kind of music I like, the imagery on screen, and the scene that happens in this room, one of the rough sleepers, the female, the creep kind of performs some things on her that he clearly experienced when he was growing up, and it's kind of grim, but it's actually in some ways a lovely scene. I think if you watch it, and you might sort of understand what I mean about that. Yes, it's gross and it's horrible, but there's something just kind of you start to feel for him a little bit, because he's reminiscing, and yeah, very good, what I call gritty British horror film. Now, if either of these two films are the closest to the one I'm about to show you as a remake, then it will be Creep. And actually there are some definite references to this third film in Creep, and one of them is when George is doing the sewers and he's cleaning out a particularly horrible pipe that's gummed up with all sorts of stuff, and as he unblocks it, he gets showered in all sorts of liquid and fluid and stuff you don't want to know, and he's like, oh, I could catch the plague, and I'm pretty sure that is a reference to what happens to not really the beast, but the underground dweller in this film, which is Deathline. In America it is, I think, known as raw meat. Deathline is from 1972. It stars Donald Pleasence, Christopher Lee appears in it, but that's just kind of it. He appears in it. He has one scene, and he plays quite an obnoxious MI5 or MI6 agent, and Donald Pleasant's character is a police detective, and yeah, he's tasked with trying to find out what's going on with these disappearances from I think it's Russell Square tube station in London. Now, can't quite remember how I came across this one, but this is released by Network, and when I picked this copy up, I was in Leeds in HMV, and I was very pleased to find a booklet in it. So for you collectors out there, to find a first edition, obviously booklets and generally sleeves denote a first edition, and this has been out a while, so I was really pleased. This was the last one on the shelf, so I was really pleased to find the booklet. So yes, there's the young man that's kind of terrorizing people, but actually there's a really nice scene with him, despite the way he looks and his kind of Neanderthal appearance. There's a scene, he's clearly still got feelings and emotions, he's still human, but and at some point you realise this has been going on for generations, and as they get samples from the female who's also down there with him, they realise it's a kind of form of plague, and there's your connection to creep. But there is one scene, a little bit of cruelty to animals, which was a rat, and yeah, this is from the 70s, so you know, don't expect the way they look after animals now. It's not very long scene, it's literally a couple of seconds, but if you're not quite, if you don't like that kind of thing, then you know, just be warned. There is Christopher Lee's character. Let's see, there's a raw meat, there we go. So for you Americans out there, you may have seen that. So I really like this film. I thought it was great, and the fact that part of the reason I started this channel as originals and remakes is that a number of times I've watched the film, you know, recently, something from 5-6 years ago, and thought, wow, that's an original film. It's hard to come up with an original film in this day and age, only to find it's not. And so as much as I love Creep and Midnight Meat Train, which is actually based on a short story by Clive Barker. Now I wonder, because he spent a fair amount of time in the UK doing the Hellraiser films, had he seen this and did it influence his version of the story? Hence why this is quite a bit different in sort of ultimate concept. Yes, it takes place on an underground subway train, and yes, there's some creatures, but these two are closer in original and remake. Now I really hope this comes out on, well, I don't even think it has a Blu-ray release. I would love to see it in HD. Obviously I got my player to upscale it and it looked really good. So, but although it is a Pathé release, it also has, if you can see that, a 20th Century Fox logo on it. Yeah, so the chances of 4K, I don't know. I don't know who's dealing with the Pathé stuff. But it is a British movie, so maybe 20th Century was involved with distribution in America, in which case then we may get 4K. So let me know if you've seen any of these 3 films, what you think of them, whether you even knew, if you'd seen Creep and it was one of your favourite films, whether you even knew that there was kind of a predecessor in Deathline. And yeah, like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to take part in my little music quiz, I'm going to leave a link to a song, it's a YouTube video of a song which has a movie clip in it, and the quiz is guess the movie. So yeah, leave your answers in the comments. Leave me some comments about these movies, if you have them in your collection, if you're like, oh yeah, I might check that out. And if you do check them out, let me know what you think of them. So that's Deathline from 1972, Creep from 2004, and Midnight Meat Train, Clive Barker short story from 2009. And I shall see you in the next video. So take it easy.